Hello and welcome to the Arbitration Conversation. So in this webisode, we're now at 56 webisodes. Can you believe it? It's pretty exciting. And this time we have another expert in the field, a really amazing arbitrator from Canada. She's been able to exceed and excel in arbitration, and her name is Julie Hopkins. And Julie Hopkins, she's an independent commercial and labor arbitrator based in Calgary, Alberta, and a member of Calgary Energy and Commercial Arbitrators in 2020. Prior, she had been at a law firm, Borden, Ladner, and Gervais LLP, and so she practiced law before she actually ventured out to just be a full-time arbitrator, which is so impressive and is really exciting just to think about for many in the field who look forward to that as sort of their ultimate goal. So I really appreciate your taking time with us, Julie. I'm really looking forward to picking your brain on several questions that I have for you. So thanks for coming.
Well, thanks very much. It's a great pleasure to be here with you.
Well, first of all, in looking at your background, and it will be posted along with your bio with the conversation so others can see, you've done so much. You have really excelled. I mean, it was really an impressive resume and really extensive, and in areas where often it's difficult for women to break in, oil and gas, labor, really sometimes really tough. So how did you do it? What brought you to this, and how did you get to being an independent arbitrator?
Well, I think there were two main experiences that got me to this point. And the first was my experience as arbitration counsel. As a junior lawyer, I was very lucky to work closely with an outstanding lawyer, and he had a very interesting practice with a great deal of arbitration work. And so I was his junior, and we did a lot of work. And eventually I got my own files as arbitration counsel. So the counsel experience, I think it was really important. And then the other thing was a number of years ago, I was appointed as a panel chair on a statutory tribunal. And so that gave me the experience of running a hearing, conducting deliberations with the panel, drafting an award. And as a result, that gave me the confidence that I had the skills to be an arbitrator and that I could go out and market myself that way. And eventually I got my first appointment and just go from there. Yeah.
Well, and what advice do you have for other women? You know, I have in my arbitration classes many young women who aspire to be an arbitrator. And, you know, I'd love to hear your advice that you would tell them.
So my advice would be that it's really important to build your profile. And this is a very difficult thing for women to do. They usually don't have the luxury of this kind of time when they have family and childcare obligations. There just isn't any slack in the system for them. But you need to have something about yourself that you can market to other people besides the fact that you're a valued member of your law firm or whatever it is. You need to bring something as an individual. So you have to take the time and just view it as investing in yourself. So how do you do that? You take arbitration training and it becomes a line item on your resume. You look for speaking opportunities, publishing opportunities. Getting involved in arbitral organizations is another way. And as you and I were talking before we went online, getting your name on rosters for institutions is really important because that is often the way women will get their first appointments. And so all of these things, it takes a long time, it has a long tail, but it will eventually bear fruit. Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons why I, you know, first thought, oh, I'd love to talk to you is I saw your paper that you wrote with Danielle Urbis, and really interesting and important stuff. OARB, online arbitration, as I like to call it, it's really taken off, of course, with COVID. And you wrote a really interesting piece about practical advice and tips about handling virtual hearings. Would you mind sharing your top 5?
Sure. I guess my biggest takeaway from the whole experience is that a hearing will only run as smoothly as the technology and the skill of the participants will allow. It really only takes one stuttering screen to put everything offside. So from that, there's a couple of learnings we had, and one was that pre-hearing technical meetings are imperative. And for those to be effective, everybody must attend, and they must attend using the equipment, using the internet connection, the location, the platform version that they intend to use the day of the hearing. If you have that, then you can get rid of a lot of issues up front, but a lot of people don't do that when they attend. So I think it's important to make that a requirement.
Oh, I agree with that. That is one of the biggest things. I also think that's so important. Thank you. That's perfect.
Yeah. The other thing, some other little tips, everyone should be conducting a speed test. It's as easy as just going to the website fast.com, just to make sure you have adequate internet capability, making sure everybody's equipment has adequate processing power. Older computers, iPads just don't, and then they can't accept incoming video the way that they should. Headphones, reduce ambient noise, but also confidentiality. A lot of people are attending from less secure places, and it's just one way to kind of try to maintain some level of confidentiality. And, you know, of course, 2 screens, one for the camera and one for the documents. You kind of view it as your little electronic document binder. And yeah, so those are the technological ones that they're not uncommon lessons, but they were important ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the one about the 2 screens, because I could see that being, as an arbitrator, being really helpful, that you would be able to actually be looking as you would if you were in person and you had physical documents, but in this way you have them electronically available. So it makes a lot of sense. What other sort of advice have you run into in terms of, for example, taking evidence as an arbitrator with witnesses in a remote location?
Well, there's kind of like, it's interesting you bring that up. There's kind of 2 things that we kind of focused on through all this. And one was oaths and affirmations. It'll be quite common that the seat of the arbitration will be in one location, the arbitrator in a second, and a witness in a third. And so the issue arises, well, what's the appropriate oath? That's a very difficult question. So our advice is very practical. Raise the issue with the parties up front, try to get agreement, flush it out. Don't wait and then have it become an issue later when there's a disgruntled party that might not have got the result they want.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing, I don't know if you've seen this, that with oaths, there's some floating around on the internet, and they include statements in the oath that the witness says that they swear that they won't be speaking to any unauthorized people, that they swear they won't be looking at any unauthorized documents. And that caused some real concern for us and the participants, because it seems to interfere with the purpose of the oath. It's quite appropriate once the people are sworn to then ask them those questions, but to blend it into the oath, you almost wonder whether it's interfering with the legality of the oath, if you will. So.
Yeah, well, and I think, you know, one of the questions, I was talking with some other colleagues about these different issues, and you want to really sort of, whatever risks you need to mitigate, don't you kind of want to think about precisely that particular case, what are the actual risks that you're dealing with, but building it right into the oath seems like it might be more than you need. And you're right, you don't want to harm the legality. That's a really good point. Yeah, how do you feel in terms of having done, of course, many face-to-face arbitrations, now that you've had to deal with the online arbitration in the wake of COVID? Do you think you'll be continuing to use online hearings in the future?
I do. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. I think that there will be a place for online hearings going forward. I think there's still a lot of nostalgia for the way we used to do things. And there may end up being these hybrid type of hearings where some witnesses attend from remote locations. Mm-hmm. But that always happened before anyway.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, that's true. Even back 25 years ago when I was at the law firm, even back then we were using video for different pieces of the puzzle. So especially because of cost, right? I mean, there's always going to be the cost of travel, which is still going to be problematic. So
Yes. Yeah.
well, listen, I just want to thank you so much for taking time with us today. Thank you.
Well, it was great speaking with you, Amy. Thanks a lot.